Chapter 3 The Oracle of the Smiling Pool. Grandfather Frog sat on his big green lily pad with his eyes half closed, for all the world as if he knew nothing about the meeting at the Big Rock. Of course he did know, for there isn't much going on around the Smiling Pool which he doesn't see or at least hear all about. The Merry Little Breezes, who are here, there, and everywhere, told him all that was going on, so that when he saw Jerry Muskrat and Little Joe Otter swimming towards him, he knew what they were coming for. But he pretended to be very much surprised when Jerry Muskrat very politely said, "Good morning, Grandfather Frog." "Good morning, Jerry Muskrat. You're out early this morning," replied Grandfather Frog. "If you please, you are wanted over at the Big Rock," said Jerry. Grandfather Frog's eyes twinkled, but he made his voice very deep and gruff as he replied, "Chug-a-rum! You're a scamp, Jerry Muskrat, and Little Joe Otter is another. What trick are you trying to play on me now?" Jerry Muskrat and Little Joe Otter looked a wee bit sheepish, for it was true that they were forever trying to play tricks on Grandfather Frog. "Really and truly, Grandfather Frog, there isn't any trick this time," said Jerry. "There is a meeting at the Big Rock to try to decide what to do to keep Farmer Brown's boy from setting traps around the Smiling Pool and along the Laughing Brook. And everybody wants your advice, because you are so old and so wise. Please come." Grandfather Frog smoothed down his white and yellow waistcoat and pretended to think the matter over very seriously, while Jerry and Little Joe fidgeted impatiently. Finally he spoke. "I am very old, as you have said, Jerry Muskrat, and it is a long way over to the Big Rock." "Get right on my back and I'll take you over there," said Jerry eagerly. "I'm afraid that you'll spill me off," replied Grandfather Frog. "No, I won't. Just try me and see," begged Jerry. So Grandfather Frog climbed on Jerry Muskrat's back, and Jerry started for the Big Rock as fast as he could go. When all the minks and the otters and the coons and the muskrats saw them coming, they gave a great shout, for Grandfather Frog is sometimes called the Oracle of the Smiling Pool. You know, an oracle is one who is very wise. Bobby Coon helped Grandfather Frog up on the Big Rock, and when he had made himself comfortable, Mrs. Muskrat told him all about Farmer Brown's boy and his traps, and how Jerry had been caught in one by the tail, and she ended by asking for his advice, because they all knew that he was so wise. When she said this, Grandfather Frog puffed himself up until it seemed as if his white and yellow waistcoat would surely burst. He sat very still for a while and gazed straight at jolly, round, red Mr. Sun without blinking once. Then he spoke in a very deep voice. "Tomorrow morning at sunrise I will tell you what to do," said he, and not another word could they get out of him. Chapter 4 Grandfather Frog's Plan. Just as Old Mother West Wind and her Merry Little Breezes came down from the Purple Hills, and jolly, round, red Mr. Sun threw his nightcap off and began his daily climb up in the blue sky, Great-Grandfather Frog climbed up on the Big Rock in the Smiling Pool. Early as he was, all the little people who live along the Laughing Brook and around the Smiling Pool were waiting for him. Bobby Coon had found 2 traps set by Farmer Brown's boy, and Billy Mink had almost stepped in a third. No one felt safe anymore, yet no one knew what to do. So they all waited for the advice of Great-Grandfather Frog, who, you know, is accounted very, very wise. Grandfather Frog cleared his throat. "Chug-a-rum," said he. "You must find all the traps that Farmer Brown's boy has set." "How are we going to do it?" asked Bobby Coon. "By looking for them," replied Grandfather Frog tartly. Bobby Coon looked foolish and slipped out of sight behind his mother. "All the coons and all the minks must search along the banks of the Laughing Brook, and all the muskrats and all the otters must search along the banks of the Smiling Pool. You must use your eyes and your noses. When you find things good to eat where you have never found them before, watch out. When you get the first whiff of the man smell, watch out. Billy Mink, you are small and quick and your eyes are sharp. You sit here on the Big Rock until you see Farmer Brown's boy coming. Then go hide in the bulrushes where you can watch him, but where he cannot see you. Follow him everywhere he goes, around the Smiling Pool or along the Laughing Brook. Without knowing it, he will show you where every trap is hidden. When all the traps have been found, drop a stick or a stone in each. That will spring them, and then they will be harmless. Then you can bury them deep in the mud. But don't eat any of the food until you have sprung all the traps, for just as likely as not you will get caught. When all the traps have been sprung, why not bring all the good things to eat which you found around them to the big rock and have a grand feast? Hurrah for Grandfather Frog! That's a great idea, shouted Little Joe Otter, turning a somersault in the water. Everyone agreed with Little Joe Otter, and immediately they began to plan a grand hunt for the traps of Farmer Brown's boy. The muskrats and the otters started to search the banks of the Smiling Pool, and the coons and the minks, all but Billy, started for the Laughing Brook. Billy climbed up on the big rock to watch, and Grandfather Frog slowly swam back to his big green lily pad to wait for some foolish green flies for his breakfast.